Good morning. This is Norma Cowie, and this is my Wednesday Norma Talks. During the week, I have clients, and very often a similar themes begins to come up with the clients that I have. And then the last couple of days, I've had a couple of clients, but also conversations with friends regarding money. How do you go about creating how do we do that? Especially in these times when often people are leaving, they're getting fired because of certain mandates and things. Or what if you just never feel that you have created it the way you want? Now, I remember, I guess maybe it helped me many years ago, someone had said to me, "Oh, you will make a lot of money in your life." And that has been true. But what I found was at one point, I didn't hold on to it. I made it. I made good money. I made a lot of money. I've done very many things with money, but it didn't stick. And eventually I had to take a look at that as to how come it wasn't sticking. And part of that was my environment I grew up in, where I wasn't ever really given or even really taught too much about money except save it. And my past lives. When I began to look at my past lives, I began to find how I'd abused money at different times, how I hadn't respected money. And so I began to create a lot of ideals or thoughts or awarenesses about it. And so it began to stick, and then it also began to still at times leave. So I have had, you might say, a relationship with money. And sometimes that comes very helpful when I'm dealing with clients who are also wanting to know what to do about money. So I happened to have a session with someone yesterday who wanted to have a good relationship with money, plus some other things that we worked on. And what did we find in that, which brings back a lot of my thoughts or interesting on this particular topic, was the soul involvement. Now, you wouldn't think a soul would have anything too much to do with money, but actually it does. And mainly that's because of your past lives. And during the past lives, the decisions made about money being good or bad. And very often, if you listen to your ideology about what you think about money, and, it's very often, and we don't sort of sit down in company and talk about how a few people at this point of time in our lives seem to have all the money and the majority of us scrambling for whatever we can get or do. And especially, as I said earlier, so many people are having to lose their jobs because of certain mandates and things like that. How do we operate with that? Now, it becomes a philosophical question as far as I'm concerned. What is your belief system about the big power? What is the belief system, whether you call it God or Earth Mother, or doesn't matter what you call it, as I always say. I call the universal love energy, but it's a belief that there is something more that we can utilize. Now, how do we utilize that ability? How do we utilize that whole element of what's out there? That becomes the question, because it has a lot to do with our belief and our trust and our faith. Trust and faith becomes huge at certain times, because if we're just following the mainstream thing and the humdrum and the belief that, well, if you do this, you might, get the jackpot or whatever. But what is your actual belief about where money is within you? Now, I went back in my life to where I began to recognize that I had a co-creation that went on with my life. And it doesn't mean that I always created everything magnificently. Believe me, I didn't. But at the same point, I always knew that energy was there, and it was up to me to request. I was thinking about this last night, and I unfortunately slept in this morning, so I didn't have time to look up this biblical quote that was always at the back of my mind at times, which was, "Seek and you shall find, knock and it'll be opened unto you." And I know there's a third thing. Things always work in three, the power of three. Now, seek and you shall find. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, the thing is that you need sometimes to really look for what you're looking for. Some people are looking for love. Some people are looking for success. Some people are wanting to contribute more. Some people are wanting a word that I have not in my head at the moment. But it's like that we seek and we shall find. But how do we find it? Now, this is where my training about how thoughts are important came into play. I began to learn that what I thought was creating my vibration, and it was my vibration that the universe, I'll use that word right now, responded to. So if I was thinking, I want this or I want that, the universe would work to respond to that. Now, there's a couple of points that often people forget. And that is knock and it will be opened. How do we knock? Emotion, feeling, consistency, all of those things are about seeking to find or to create. We could use another word of create, because remember, most biblical things were also, we don't know the original words because we don't, certainly are not reading the original words often. So let's go back to the basic principles. The thinking that you put out sets the vibration in place so that universal force can begin to bring you. So that's why, and I've said this many times, when I first saw and read how a computer worked, I went, oh my goodness, they've created the subconscious mind. But it is not the superconscious mind. It is the subconscious mind. It is what you put in, it will come back out. So what are you putting in when you're thinking money, when you're thinking success, when you're thinking you're wanting your business to flourish, when you're thinking that you want this, that, or the other? I want to go on a journey. I want to be able to do this or that. What is the thoughts? Now, we today very often have a lot of anxiety in our world, and that goes into the subconscious. You pick it up, people get a lot of anxiety. Now, the thing is when you have a belief that there is, how do you say it, an evolvement that happens, you can begin to take a look at, no matter what the circumstances are, what is your part to play to create the life that you want to create? Sometimes, and I do talk about acceptance a lot, we just need to accept that at this point in time, the situations are perhaps not to create what exactly we want. But that does not mean that you cannot create it in a weird way, a wonderful way. That's why I often talk about the miracles that have happened in my world, when all of a sudden I thought I was at a dead end, didn't know what I wanted to do. But somehow I just kept plodding along, and all of a sudden everything opened up very quickly and very magically, actually, just wonderfully. And my life began to change in so many ways. So it can happen. So the first thing, you've got to be clear about what you really are wanting. I have, over the years, people will have asked and questioned, when will I win the lottery? Or when will money arrive? And sometimes I've been fairly accurate on that. And sometimes it's like, it's a big, vast universe out there. And it's like, I don't see anything here. Sorry, you'll have to relook, rechange, rethink. But when we really want something like that, when we want a lot of money, or we want to change our lives to represent richness or wealth or being, first of all, richness and wealth is dependent on what our perception is of that. It may not have anything to do with money, by the way, but just lately I've had this many questions come on up. Past lives seem to play a big, big part on how you deal and handle money. Now, I was raised in a family where they had gone through the Depression. And so where money was very tight. And I grew up with a father who believed in saving money. And I have lots of techniques on how to save money. If you ever want to learn how to save money, you can reach me through my website, and I'll send you a part of one of my books that I wrote called Spiritual Principles of Wealth, where we talk about saving and how little techniques of saving money. And in fact, a friend of mine, many, many years ago, I said something, oh, jeepers, I don't know. I just don't have whatever. And she looked at me and said, Norma, you're the one person I know that always has money somewhere. And I went, oh, right. Because sometimes I put money away and forget it's there. So it's like, I learned that from my dad. But what did I learn from my past lives? What was my basic beliefs? What did I think? Now, I can't remember those at this moment because they're cleared and done. But I see this often in my transformation work where people's past lives, and how did money work for them? And what was the decisions they made? You see, remember, we create our programming that we have in our subconscious that we will be triggered from different past lives. So let me go back over that again, even though I've talked about this before. When we have an emotion come up, we reach back in our memory banks to the last time we experienced the feeling, and we remake the same decision that we made then. That's what connects all the past lives to us. So just recently, a client of mine had a life where they were a merchant. They were very wealthy. It was not in our time, it's another time period. And there was a lot of wealth. But on the other hand, there was a life where she was a slave and she was bought and sold. And that was not a good feeling at all. And I'm just saying that it was left a lot. So when she began her relationship in this life with money, on one hand, she knew how to handle it, but on the other hand, it didn't leave her with a good feeling because it did, what would you call it, demeaned her. And so there was a fear of having that. So what the whole situation, of course, we had to go through many different things to be able to clear that whole belief and attitude around money. I recently just had a friend phone in, and we're going to work on this, where she remembered a dream that she had had of a past life, and a friend who was very intuitive had been staying with her and had mentioned that, oh, that may be why you're having some money complications in this life. We'll just put it that way. And I said, yes, we can look at that. We can take care of that. And we will within the next week. Now, the key is you do not know what decisions you've made in other time periods. You do not know what the connection that you have brought into yourself. But believe me, it will be shown in your life. Because the life works. The energy out there has no judgment. The energy that loves you and wants to give you what you want takes its orders, can we say it that way, from how you think, feel, and respond. So anyway, the energy is. So you have a thought, not a very big thought, but if you have energy behind that, even a little thought, the energy is red. And the energy comes from your feeling around it. And you might have a thought you're not even aware that you have a lot of energy around. And the one way I found out a lot about that was observing my reactions to what other people said and what other people did. How did I react to that? What did I do with that? What did that mean? How did that work? And what did I find? That I began to get clearer on who I was, number one. And I began to get clearer about my relationship with money. Because in a way, I had, you won't believe what I first worked for a whole week, but it comes down to about $15 a week is what I made. Started off my life working for $15. That's what I was paid. When you think about that, and that's because I am older and lots of life has changed, but it's what do we consider that? Do we consider when we have it tight, when we have that there's no way things loosen up? We have between here a tremendous brain that can open up all sorts of potential. And I know many people think, money is the root of all evil, but truly it isn't. It's just an energy, for goodness sakes. How much power do we give that? People control and command money. And we do have people today that command tremendous amounts of money And that's all they want. It's like we know, again, quoting the good book, that being greed and things, and even though we may have a sense of the good works that they do, but really they're tax evasions when you really look at everything in a plain way. So they have a nice little technique, and they make it because that's all there is. And some people do some good works, I'm not denying that, but others, all they want to do is accumulate and control. And so there's a section of our world that we are controlled through money. And right now that's tightening a lot more than that it has, because we always felt we had freedom, and we had freedom to choose how and what, when and where. And now we're losing freedoms. So we're not choosing. And so what I want you to realize is that you need to really get clear as to how you want to be, because you don't want the lack in your life, because that's what's happening. With all the fear that's going on, with all that fear, with all those things, people are beginning to sense lack. Oh, we're not going to have any food. Oh, we're not going to have any gas. Well, we're not going to have that. It's all about what we're not going to have. Maybe we have to do a little bit of a readjustments in our lifestyles. Yeah, that happens, but that happens from time to time. We do make adjustments, but I want you to know that your depth of you, your soul, the essence of you, when I'm going in and looking at a money issue and seeing it's a soul problem, that tells me right away, uh-oh, how come the soul is not feeling joyous and abundance in life? How come the soul knows that no matter what, this is just a little bit of time in the big essence of eternity? This life is only a little life. You know, what are we on? Let's just say we're here for 100 years, and many of us don't make 100 years. But in the compounds of the thousands of years. So this is why lifetimes, this is why past lives are so important. And the decisions that you made then, how it affects here. Now, I shouldn't just say past life, because there's future lives. I have people who I know who remember their lives in Atlantis, which I believe I'm going to talk about on Sunday, a little bit about Atlantis, because I'm going to keep I always do a shorter talk on Sundays. But the element of whatever it is, but then we have the people who remember being in space, living on other planets, living in things, coming here from other planets, all sorts of other wonderful, phenomenal things, that life is there. This incarnation that you're in is for a short time. So are you happy? Are you looking? I was looking outside the other day, doing a drive, and the beauty of this planet just touches my heart. I just love the scenery, and we're coming into fall, the trees. We don't get as many reds out here in the West as they do in the East, but there are some. And there's some phenomenal reds and golds as mingled with the greens. And it's beautiful as we do transition. And we are definitely in a transition time. And so if you're feeling the hint that I can't make money or I can't have money, well, sure, I can say, yes, I can help you with that. But I'm not here just to say about my work. It's about recognizing that you are a product of the decisions made in other time periods, whether it's past or future, because you connected with it at some point. And you may have limiting beliefs in there that say money is evil, can't do any good with it, you only lose it. Who knows what your decisions were? I can go and look and find out, but you'll learn by what's experienced outside. What is your experience with the money? What I tell my clients is that money is a means of exchange. It is like a ribbon of love that is being passed around. You give me money, hopefully cheerfully and happy. I then go and pay a bill. That person who owns let's say the store, they then go and pay another bill. And then they pay another bill. So what you have is a ribbon of love moving around in our world. And that's how I really look at money. And if I'm feeling a little constrained, I have some visualizations that I do. I imagine not money in itself, but for me, gold is a color I really like. And as we know, gold is probably one of our best standards of things. And I just see my place filled with all these little gold elements, but not just around me, in me, coming in. And because sometimes I get into a place where I go, I wonder where things going. Or I want more because I want to go on a trip or something. And I just imagine myself full of this beautiful gold and rich, very rich. And in the richness, guess what happens? Things open up. All of a sudden, clients come, or I'm invited to speak here, or a trip opens up that I may be thinking I really like to visit. This is a world of possibilities. So do not allow the outside world to dictate to you what you can and you cannot create. Often, yes, we need to clear our personal blocks. Often, yes, we need to take a look at what and how and when everything is working. But it is possible. The key, first of all, is to acknowledge where you're blocked. Acknowledge it. Say, I don't believe. I don't believe that I can have. So then how come you don't believe you can have? And sometimes the answer will come to you. Ask and you shall receive. That's the one. Ask and you shall receive. I knew I had that messed up there and I couldn't remember what it was. 3, ask and you shall receive. Knock and seek and you shall find, and it will be given. Ask. That's how we ask us through our thought. It is what we need to be able to open up. Sometimes we have to do, and the other thing is doing. If you don't do something, and sometimes people are very brave because they don't feel very confident, but they really want to do something, start a new business, come from the heart, do all those things, and they're not sure what it is. So ask what you want, but be open to find that it may not be what you think or how you think it's going to be. But for myself and the work that I do, is to clear those blockages, beliefs, attitudes, soul hurts. Oh my goodness, the soul can carry some hurts, and to let them go and know you can make a decision today, anytime, to be clear and to listen to yourself, listen to your high self, listen to the essence of you. We always know our own answers. We may not like them, but we know them. And that is the interaction of the one, the all, the God, the universe, whatever you want to call that, out there. And it comes, and you will receive clarity. You will receive all that you require and more, always more. It always gives more. So you're more than a computer. You have inspiration, you have desires, and with that emotion of desire, the universe responds because it hears you. And because it hears you and honors you and sees you and loves you and wants you to have what you want to make sure you're thinking as well as delivering the emotion for what it is that you do want. And on that night, I want to thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Sorry, it's not quite the month yet, end of the month. We have good old Halloween coming along, and I appreciate all your comments. I appreciate your subscriptions. And remember, you can always contact me through my website, normacowie.com. Many blessings to you.